wanted to focus on kind of some different financial moves you guys should be evaluating based on the direction you go. Now, one of the things is we saw a major run up in the stock market, specifically the NASDAQ, which is super heavy tech centered, which is why we saw that after a pretty big sell off last week. The reason why we saw this is it's pretty well known that the Senate is going to stay red and stay Republican. Why is this so important? This is super important because we didn't have a blue wave come through. Because if we had a blue wave come through, meaning obviously Democrat House, Democrat GOP, and then obviously Democrat Senate, then what's going to obviously happen is they can pass these higher tax regulations, which is absolutely going to be detrimental to the stock market. So the good news is, with us definitely keeping the Senate side of that as Republicans, that we prevented to be able to kind of stop Biden in these tax increases if that is something he was actually going to go do. So why we saw that major rally is they know that corporate tax is going to be kind of nipped in the butt. They're not going to be able to run that from that 21% to about 28%. And that's why we've seen these big swings up, because we know that corporate America isn't going to have to pay an extra 7% annualized on effective corporate taxes, which was a huge win. And that's why we saw that stock market rally. Now, another thing, what we're going to kind of start to see is if we do see Biden get a clear victory, and we do see that, somewhat appears to look like potentially maybe some fraudulent votes in some areas, the way things have been kind of panning out. But if we do see Biden take over in office, what we are going to see is likely some pretty heavy stimulus come through. That stimulus is then going to really kind of put some downward pressure on the dollar index, which means that's very, very strong plays for any of your precious metals. As well as that's also, you can kind of see a major flock to safety in some cryptocurrencies even. So if you're looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin now is at like 14.2. So it just broke a new high, and it's closed at an all new high for 2020. So this is really good news. And the reason why people are going to Bitcoin is because it's a store of value. They're super concerned about the US dollar. They really don't like the fact that, Biden, if he does get in office, is going to pass this additional stimulus, just keep printing free money out, which is really ultimately going to devalue our currency, and also too is going to be a little bit more friendly with China, which they're obviously pegging us against China again. Also has concerns once again about the US dollar. So that's why we're seeing those flock to safety in those assets like precious gold and silver and Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are kind of the two cryptocurrencies I would suggest kind of really looking at, is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the two best. And you're also going to basically see oil went kind of bonkers. And the reason why that is too is because they know that all that Green New Deal stuff and everything being done and being kind of thrown in, that's not going to be able to likely get through with the control of the Senate. That they know that getting rid of oil and oil fracking is not likely going to be something that Biden's going to be able to do. If he does indeed get the presidency, and these so-called mail-in ballots that went to 100% Biden in some of these states, late things don't get overturned, and we do see him in office, then we know he's going to have his hands tied, and fracking is not going to be able to be eliminated, which is awesome, because obviously we're not at the point in standard in our country to completely go off of fossil fuel energy. That's just insane right now, where solar provides not even anywhere close to enough power to do anything, and wind power is extremely, extremely expensive. So we definitely aren't at that point of actually being able to get rid of fracking. So that's what we've seen some oil stocks like USO and UCO kind of go through the roof. So those are other great plays to potentially look at. Now, on the mortgage industry side, we saw mortgage-backed securities give us some very favorable pricing. We actually saw, giving us about 50 basis points back in price. Now, a lot of investors yesterday jacked up their interest rates a little bit due to the potential volatility. So we're not going to necessarily see potentially all this play into the market, because a lot of, you're going to see a lot of investors, they're going to be really uncertain about what's going to happen. We probably are going to see some pretty wild swings in the mortgage-backed securities markets. But the good news is, both candidates do agree we must have low interest rates for the foreseeable future. So for anybody out there that is looking at potentially going ahead and wanting to pull some cash out of your properties, we're looking at getting into some investment properties, especially too. I do think if we see a Biden victory, I do see we are going to see some exodus in some of those states, especially in areas that are really, really blue. You're going to see some of those small business owners want to get into other areas, more red friendly states, which could be great opportunities for investors to look and actually pull some money out of their home to then go ahead and place this and purchase rental properties to some of these individuals that are exiting, because what are they going to do before they buy a home in an area? A lot of times they're going to like to rent in those areas. So certain areas like areas of Idaho, certain areas that we're going to see close to Cali in Arizona, in those areas, Phoenix area, and some of those areas. You're also going to see this move towards particular kind of areas in Texas, in red counties, as well as Tennessee, as well as South Carolina. So some of those things, if you are as an investor looking at different areas to kind of park some of that money, it's not a bad deal to go ahead and pull some cash out of your property. With interest rates being so low in those twos, you can a lot of times pull cash out of that property, pull yourself 20-25% down using your equity of your home to kind of then put it into a rental property, into a market where you do see what I like to call a red wave, where you're going to see a lot of people exiting some of these blue states that weren't so favorable in the election and move into those areas, so that you can obviously go ahead and obviously the more people that move to an area, you have a shortage of inventory and rental properties. Therefore, it's going to be not only support rent price, but also support the house price, which could be great plays. So if you have questions on it specifically, just shoot me a DM, or if you have questions about how to refinance and pull some of those cash out of your property, just shoot me a DM. I'm happy to put you in touch with my team. But take care, stay safe, everybody, and gotta love America.